Cali Crowd, 500 subscribers. If you told me even a month ago that we'd have been able to build a community of this many people, I'd have laughed in your face. Guys, I really cannot thank you enough for the support that you guys have been leaving on this channel. So in celebration, and as I mentioned before, I'll be doing a calisthenics / Cali To The Crowd Q&A in this video. There are some amazing questions that have been left by you guys. I'm gonna dive straight into it with the first question from Mehul. Apologies, I'm gonna butcher some names today. Mehul asks, I'm new to calisthenics, what move should I learn first? So when it comes to skills, right, they're just a manifestation of the strength we've built from bodyweight training. So I definitely still say start with your vertical and horizontal pushing and pulling movements, your core stability movements, and then just global mobility. With that asterisk and terms and conditions out of the way, if you ask me to pick one skill, it would probably be the L-sit. And I'm not just saying that because that's the first skill I learned, because handstand would probably be a very close second. But I think the L-sit is probably the skill that can be mastered relatively easily and give you a very quick win to allow you to start receiving the psychological benefit of training calisthenics. I think there are principles that you learn when you're learning how to L-sit that will come to really help you out when you're learning other different skills, things like ring dips, for example. And when it comes to just general hip mobility, so toes to bar, leg lifts, V-sit, maybe even planche from the strength you build from straight arm pressing. I think there are people out there that might say handstands are the skill you should learn first. And I would agree with them because there are far more carryover things with proprioception, body line awareness, core stability, balance. The thing about the handstand though is that because that journey is so individual, it can take a really long time and be really frustrating. So if that's the first thing that you learn, it might actually be the thing that ends up making you quit. Don't underestimate the mental side of calisthenics. James asks, why did you call the channel Cali To The Crowd? Cali, short for calisthenics, crowd, everybody's included. Next question. Now, on the level and for real, I called it Cali To The Crowd because I wanted to show people that calisthenics, while difficult, is something that can be learned by almost anybody if you apply yourself and you really dedicate yourself to it and you build that community of people that are willing to motivate you. I'm not just talking about the physiological tips and motivators here, I'm talking about the mental ones as well. So having that close-knit community. For most people, they are the lone weirdo in their gym doing calisthenics. So having a group of people, even if it's an online community around you, can really help you feel supported. More so as well, I feel that a lot of the people that I see on YouTube are at a far more advanced stage in their calisthenics journey, which makes it a little bit more difficult for a beginner like me to relate to. So I really wanted to show that step-by-step progress as well. So in a nutshell, creating Cali To The Crowd not only encourages me to build that community and keeps me accountable to that, but also gives everybody a space to share in that learning and progress process. The next question was from Darius. His question was quite long, but I'll condense it down a little bit. He asks, how do I not look stupid in the gym when training calisthenics? Now, my initial answer to this was going to be some really hard-headed, don't give a shit what anybody else thinks, you do you, who cares about anybody else? But when I think about it, not only is that not what I really think, it's actually quite a privileged thing to say, especially as I know people who have so much anxiety around their body that they can't even step into a gym in the first place. That being said, there are some things that we can do to make the psychological impact of calisthenics in the non-calisthenics environment a little bit easier. First, I think we've got to be aware that other people have their own crap going on. While it may look like they're staring at you, they've probably got a lot of their own self-awareness issues that they're going to be dealing with as well. Yeah, you may catch the odd cursory glance in your direction, but it's probably because you're staring at them rather than the other way around. Second tip around this is maybe go to the gym with a training partner. Sometimes having that extra person around you, whether it's to help you get into a resistance band when you're learning how to muscle up, or having someone to laugh with when you do something a little bit silly that makes you feel a little bit more comfortable. This comes back to that mental support that I was talking about as well, right? So especially when you're in an unfamiliar environment, having someone there can really help. Third tip around this could be, are you even in the right gym for you. I'll give you an example. In the UK at least, calisthenics is still quite niche, right? And when I was learning to muscle up, I was doing so in a very traditional gym. I remember once doing muscle up negatives on the Smith machine because it's the only place where I could adjust the bar to the correct height for me. And there was this beast of a man waiting to do squats. That was extremely uncomfortable. And yeah, sometimes you've just got to do you and ignore everybody else. But calisthenics is hard enough without the mental side of it being added to and being more difficult as well. So if you're struggling with things like that, maybe explore the idea of going to a more calisthenics friendly gym, or even going to one of the outdoor gym parks. I'll actually drop a link in the description below for an app that will allow you to find a calisthenics park near you. And then just one final tip on this, assess your level. So we all know the guy who watched one video on calisthenics on YouTube, decided he was going to learn how to planche but can't do one clean press up, and is in the gym now with resistance band tethered to every single corner of the gym trying to planche. If this is you, there's a chance that you're doing stuff that is far above your level, and that will automatically make you feel more self-conscious, right? So find the balance between pushing yourself but also knowing yourself so that you don't end up looking like a clown in the gym. Carmel, I hope I pronounced that right. Carmel asks, if you had one exercise for learning how to muscle up, what would it be? This is a tough one because I'm trying not to give the answer of it depends. It really would be based on where they are in their muscle up journey at that particular moment in time. I actually have a video on exactly this topic, but even in that video, I narrowed it down to 5 exercises. But I'm going to assume that Carmel can do about 10 to 15 clean pull-ups. So, gun to my head, I'd have to say that the one exercise for learning muscle ups is explosive pull-ups. So, pull-ups where the intent is to get the bar to your chest with speed. Some might disagree with me and say weighted pull-ups, but because the muscle up is a statement of power, so force production times velocity, what I'm saying is that we should be trying to train to those methodologies, right? So getting your own body weight, before you start adding more weight, getting your own body weight as far over that bar as possible. Next question from Janine, how did I get into calisthenics? A bit like most people, I saw somebody do something awesome, wanted to try it, got roped in, and now I'm here. I don't know what it is about seeing gymnasts, right? But there's something about a gymnast that I'd look at and say, you know what? It takes a particular type of person to do that. That person isn't me. I'm just gonna back off from that, right? But that was the first time I ever saw someone do a muscle up. They definitely didn't look like they had this in their locker. And they did a muscle up, and I was gobsmacked. From that moment on, I was obsessed with it, and now I talk about it on YouTube. The next one was left by Lee on one of my LSIT progression diary videos, and he asks, when are you doing a progression diary on the planche? Planche is one of them ones where I know it will be difficult. Speaking to what I said before about knowing yourself, I am nowhere near ready to start learning how to planche. But what I am doing now is that in my everyday exercises, like dips, for example, I'm making sure that I'm building up transferable strength that will eventually allow me to help out with the planche movement. If you're training towards the planche, you're already miles ahead of me. Should I use wrist straps when learning how to handstand? If you're like me and you need to protect your glass wrists, then I would say yes. Definitely use them if you feel you need them. But as time goes on, try to reduce your dependency on them. So what I used to do is I used to use them for about 90% of the time. Now I'd say I use wrist supports about half of the time, with the plan that in 1, maybe 2 months time I won't need them at all. This should also be coupled with the fact that you should be making sure that you're foam rolling your wrists, making sure that you're really stretching your wrists out, so making sure they're going into full flexion as much as you can and really pushing that range, right, safely, but making sure as well that you're building strength there too. These are all the benefits that we talk about when it comes to talking about calisthenics. It forces you to build that more rounded physique where you're thinking about things like mobility down to even your wrist joints. I'm gonna wrap up the Q&A there. If I haven't answered your question in this video, I have definitely replied to you in the way that you guys would have left the question. So if it's in the comment section or on Instagram, I wanna stress this again, a huge thank you for all the support that you guys have been leaving on this channel. Still cannot believe that we've hit 500 subscribers. If you wanna be part of the Cali To The Crowd family and wanna be part of the helpful and motivating community that we're building here, be sure to smash that subscribe button and ring the bell as well. Guys, I'll be back in the next video. Until then, peace.